One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful planet of ours. This is Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, here for another Metaphysical Mocha Monday. Good morning to all of you that are tuning in this morning. If you're catching the live show, welcome. My name is Marc Lainhart. I am known also as the Intuitive Prospector because I love helping people spiritually search for their own spiritual goal, whether that's through a reading, healing, transformations, and this is Metaphysical Mocha Monday. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your protein shake, grab your water. I've got a few of you joining in as we all find ourselves in this new age, this new way of being. Some would call it containment, some would call it isolation, some would call it confinement. I actually look at it as a way to be creative, and I'm going to be talking about that on today's show. So if you're new to the show, welcome. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, just about 8 miles west of downtown Seattle, also known as the first epicenter of this COVID-19, this coronavirus that struck the United States and then quickly spread to all 50 states. I'm going to be talking about that today. But today's message is I wanted to talk about a caterpillar must endure a season of isolation. And that's where we find ourselves, guys. We're in a season of isolation for the better. And, you know, for all of my friends and family and my followers and everybody that supports my work here on the Intuitive Prospector page, please be informed. Please stay inside. Please stay calm. Keep a level head. Get prepared. The food supply is fine. The chain is good. But, I started learning about this virus back in December. I was actually told in December during Christmas about this COVID-19 coming out of China, also known as China's Black Plague. Now, we'll have a cup of coffee, so let's all just take a nice, deep, collective breath together. Let's get into what I like to call the magic of the moment. And just have a frank but inspiring conversation to talk about this COVID-19, to talk about plagues that have plagued us throughout history. This is nothing new. And I thought this morning, as I was sitting in meditation thinking about what I was going to talk about, I actually thought about this last night, and I thought about the caterpillar and how it must endure a season of isolation. And what I mean by that is it goes into the cocoon, and within the cocoon, it literally deliquefies. It's kind of like the yin and the yang. What it once was deliquefies and becomes something beautiful. But after it morphs and it deliquefies and morphs into its new body so it can take flight, there's a great struggle within the cocoon phase. And we always say never pull a caterpillar out of its cocoon early, because if you do, it'll never fly. Because it's within the cocoon, it's within the struggle of this isolation that the butterfly actually sharpens its wings. And without the sharpening of the wings, it'll never fly for a new perspective. And I've had a lot of people reaching out to me. I've got contacts both in the VA, FEMA, the unemployment agency, and that's where I knew that this was going to start getting very serious as I started talking to some of my contacts within those organizations, including what I'm seeing at the ground level with the VA Office Inspector General. But I knew that this virus, once it became a pandemic, that's where I really was keeping an eye on. Because like I said, at my level, guys, think about this. At my level, my wife and I heard about this coronavirus, that the gentleman that we were speaking to during Christmas had actually stopped doing business in China physically because it was spreading so quickly and because they weren't being truthful about the information coming out of China. And so when he told us that, I really started keeping an eye on this virus coming out of China. And really kind of preparing, praying, hope that I'm wrong. I actually have a podcast that I'll put in the links that I talked about this during some of my 2020 psychic predictions. And I really talked about the words of sustainability and coming together. And boy, we're in that place right now, aren't we? It's like I said on my special edition of the Healing Cafe on Friday, was a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that we all come from different boats, but we all find ourselves in the same boat now, don't we? And the way that we're going to get out of this is effective, truthful leadership and command and control and following what we're told to do. Staying indoors, social distancing, staying calm, don't get into panic. People are worried about looting and hoarding, and we've already seen some of that, but I personally believe in the human spirit. I personally believe in human kindness and compassion and caring that people will rise up and that we will pull together like a great time before, during and after World War II. One of my favorite quotes that I've really been sticking to is from Sir Winston Churchill, where he talks about fear is a reaction, courage is a decision. And I really want you to be courage. I want you to be full of courage today and not get caught up in what I call fear, which is also false evidence appearing real. Because this is real. This is a real thing. This is something that is truly going on. And like I said, I've known about it at my level at December. So if I know it, if Marc Lainhart here in Seattle, Washington, is hearing about COVID-19 and the seriousness of it in December, in fact, December 24th, Christmas Eve, is when I actually first heard about it. No, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or the day after Christmas, one of those 3 days. I know that our highest levels of government knew about this and did nothing about it, and that is literally a failure of leadership. This isn't political. This is literally people's lives, and this is very similar, if you know your history, going back to the story of 1918 and the influenza pandemic that literally killed. They're not even sure what the actual numbers were, but some argue, killed up to 50 million people. And even at that time, the senators, the Congress, the powers that be did not want to talk about, this influenza that was spreading. And guess where it probably spread from, guys? It probably spread right here in the United States from Kansas, and then sent over to France, and it created a global epidemic. Now you got to remember, at 1918, we didn't have the air travel that we have now. We did not have the connection that we have now, and that's why this spread from an epidemic to a pandemic. And it's right in line with AIDS that's been around and spread. It's killed millions and millions of people, and that's been around for a long time. But I want to just talk today that, sometimes we need that isolation. There's a lot of something. I'm going to be talking about that today. I'm going to give you a totem animal spirit, an inspirational message, a crystal, and some numerologies to just help you during this journey while you find yourself isolated. But I'm also going to read just a kind of a prayer just to, maybe hopefully, put you at ease and, just inspire you and encourage you. That's what Metaphysical Mocha Mondays is all about. We have a national health crisis, and the best thing to do right now is stay informed, stay calm, stay inside, because they found in history past, when there's total isolation and when you lock everything down, the virus has nowhere to go and it ends. And what's interesting to me is North Korea had the exact same date in exposure as we did, and they took measures to lock down their society, and they don't see hardly any cases. Here we're still having people on the beaches partying, people out in bars and restaurants. We're in Washington State, and we took an early lead on shutting everything down because we were one of the first places hit. So I would recommend to shelter in place. Shelter in place is a term used from the 50s from nuclear war. It's not that. It's just stay inside, stay healthy, stay calm, stay informed, so we can let this virus die out and the curve start to flatten. Because the curve, guys, is not flattening. It's actually increasing. It's good that they activated FEMA and got FEMA. There's still more that we could do under the Stafford Act to get things moving. We're building field hospitals here north of Seattle in preparation. So what you do today, what you choose to do today, can impact hospital beds 14 days from now, depending on where you're at in the country and what we're seeing from Italy, what we're seeing from Spain, what we're seeing from France, what we're seeing from Germany, what we're seeing from China. And this could be just the first wave of an attack to hit us. Like I said, I'm not a doom and gloom psychic. I'm not a doom and gloom spiritualist. I truly believe that some great things are going to come out of this. But for those that listen and those that follow the rules and follow the recommendations and the guidelines, that's very, very important that we do that at this time. Like I said, if you're interested, read about the Spanish flu of 1918, which is actually it's deceptive because it became the Spanish flu because Spain started talking about it first. Nobody, including the press, including our government at the time, did not want to talk about this pandemic, which at the time it was influenza. It was the, in the early 20th century, it's known as the H1N1 1918 pandemic, and it killed a lot of people. But again, there was a lot of misinformation, a lot of mistrust, a lot of global concerned, but governments that didn't want to talk about this, including our own government and including our own press. And so that's why it became known as the Spanish flu of 1918, but it did not, many have theorized and have debated that it actually most likely stemmed out of Kansas and here in the United States. But Spain was the first to actually talk about it from a media standpoint. And so it's just interesting how things stick, whether it came out of China, whether it came out of Italy, who cares? That's irrelevant. What we need to do is we need to, in the Coast Guard we used to say, batten down the hatches, secure all gear, prepare for heavy swells. That means that there is a storm before us and we need to prepare, we need to come together, we need to communicate, we need to have trust, we need to know that what our leaders are telling us are truthful, and, again, get out of the political game because people are dying from this and more people will die. I've got a contact whose husband is in Italy on a ship there. I asked her yesterday what was going on, just to give me some, information at the ground level. She said it's actually gotten worse. Over 800 people in 24 hours had died. There's so many bodies that they don't have. They're taking trucks, just like in 1918. There was so many people that were stuck in their houses that they had to go through the streets and ask people to bring the bodies out to collect them, and that's what's taking place in Italy. And we're only about 10 days behind Italy. So that's why I'm emphasizing that this can be a very serious thing that can really escalate quickly, and that's what the dangers of a pandemic. So this is a good time to shelter in place. This is a good time to isolate, and let's talk about some things that can really be beneficial about isolating. Richard Bach talked about what the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. What a caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. And I truly believe that. Like I said, I talked about in my podcast, you can just go to marklainhart.com, click on iTunes, get the podcast off iTunes or SoundCloud or YouTube. In my psychic predictions, when I talked about this on January 8th, and the reason I spoke about it on January 8th is because I had come back from talking to a colleague about China's Black Plague, and it was going to spread as a global pandemic. And so I started talking about that. I started looking at the globe. I started looking at what's to come. And again, not from a doom and gloom. I don't sell fear. I don't sell this, entertainment purposes to, have people move into a place of fear, but be inspired and be informed and make, sound, logical choices using your intuition and what feels right. And that's when I started, looking at viruses. I started looking at flooding, but I also looked at sustainability for our planet. I really talked about sustainability and coming together. Now, as a professional psychic, I see and I feel things before they happen, and I can tell you what I'm seeing from this great global change that we're going through, economy-wise, social-wise, political-wise, government-wise. There's a big shift that's taken, and it's literally that caterpillar to the butterfly effect, where people will no longer put up with falsities, put up with misinformation. People want truth in time, especially if people are dying, and people are going to hold people accountable is what I keep seeing. So, when you are in this time, like I said, some people think that this is the end of the world. I personally don't believe that. I'm here to tell you today that I personally believe that great change is coming, but some people do good with change, some people don't. I've always long talked about be up with the waves of change, because if you don't, you find yourself underneath them. So learn to be a big wave kahuna surfer. Surf those big waves, stay on top of them, because the waves of change are coming, guys. And but it's just it's interesting because I don't have a lot of fear around this. I actually have quite the opposite. I have kind of a calm about all of this, which has been very interesting to me, because I know that this is just a great transformation. This is what we talked about last year in the Universal Year of Numerology as the Age of Aquarius. And great change, great transformations can also, call for great sacrifice. I know the numbers are going to increase. The data is showing that. But I also find that a season of loneliness and isolation is when the caterpillar gets its wings. So, if you're feeling alone, just remember that there is great things coming, and we have to go into this period, this season of isolation, so we can all move from the caterpillar collectively, globally, to the butterfly, and have this new perspective of, of what we need. So Glenn Gould talked about isolation is an indispensable component of human happiness, and I think a lot of things can really take place in isolation. I think a lot of creativity, a lot of meditation, but we also now have the technology that they didn't have in 1918 during the great influenza H1N1 outbreak. They didn't have the connectivity of talking via shows or talking via the internet or cell phones or FaceTime or Zoom video. I was on a Zoom meeting yesterday, and I actually got a reading from Lisa Williams. It was kind of cool, actually. For those of you who know and follow Lisa Williams, she's a great psychic medium down in LA. I think she's in LA still. I tuned in. There was over 200 people within the Zoom room, and ended up getting an inspirational messages from my brother and my grandma that I needed to hear. So I was really excited about that. So we have the ability to connect. I'm going to be doing a lot more online. I am going to be changing my prices because I know a lot of people out there are losing their jobs or going on unemployment. I know this because I have heard from my contact about the actual applications and sources of how much it's increased here in Washington State. So, I know that people are going to be suffering economically, and there's a lot of fear around that. But I know during this time, most ideas are born and lost in isolation, and some great things have taken place from being in isolation. So I hope that you'll support that. I hope that you'll be a good steward and follow the recommendations. Even if you don't have any signs and you're not symptomatic, you may be a carrier and you may be putting somebody at risk that you don't mean to, a family, a friend. I actually had to make the call this last weekend for family not to come over, and it was very, heartbreaking. But it was the right call because I didn't want to risk somebody coming over and getting sick. And if they got sick and died, I don't know what I would do. And I have heard of a few colleagues now, especially over in England, that have come down with the virus and have been taken to the hospital. So I'm just sending prayers and good thoughts to all of my friends, family, colleagues around the planet, anybody that might be impacted, the frontline healthcare workers, the ambulance drivers, the firefighters, the police officers, the hospital staff, nurses, doctors, all the people that are keeping our food supply chain open and risking their lives, truck drivers, people that are out there on the front lines, because this is what we do in a time of great transformation, great change. We pull together and we become one. And that's what I talked about in my psychic predictions about people coming together, literally coming together, self-mastery and sustainability in 2020. I didn't know it was going to look this extreme. I wish I would have been wrong in this, but I talked about this on January 8th because this is what I've been seeing for a long time, coming and preparing. But again, this is not new when it comes to viruses, guys. So let me read you a prayer. So everybody just take a nice deep breath with me. I will be moving into the Healing Cafe here in about 10 minutes, where I'll be doing free readings, spiritual chats, Q&A, anything that you want to talk about that you may have concerns about. I'm going to be opening that up and doing that for, we'll see how long I'm going to go, but an hour and a half or so. And just, I'm here doing this show for the last 2 years because I love to connect to people. I love to inspire people. I love to encourage people. And what I can tell you guys from what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling, this great change is going to create a new butterfly effect for all of us, a new paradigm shift. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying that more people aren't going to die, because that's just not the reality of where we're at with a pandemic. We didn't take the actions needed to shut it down when we were informed. I was informed in December, so I know our government knew, and did nothing to cure or to stop this spread, and that's why it became a pandemic. Once it spreads, once we get to pandemic level, guys, there's nothing we can do except now wait the storm out. Just like I was saying, the Coast Guard, prepare for heavy swells. We're going to need to ride this storm out, have our develop good sea legs, but we will get to the calm sailing. We will get to the sun. We will get to the joy. It may not be the same as what we enjoyed before the pandemic, but we will get through it together, and we'll come together as one collective consciousness of people doing good for one another, because the alternative is just not acceptable. So I just want to read you this prayer. It comes from a book, May You Be Blessed with All Things, by Douglas Pagels. And it says this: may you be blessed with the ability to always hang in there and carry on. Life, ... it can be complicated. But when it is, I hope in all my heart that you find the answers you need to see you through. I pray that any worries you experience will turn out to be temporary problems, and that they will give way to permanent solutions in brighter days. When life gets complicated, I think the best thing we can do are these: being patient, staying strong, and remembering that this too shall pass. Life just gets crazy and complicated sometimes, and it would be nearly impossible not to get frazzled when it does. But don't ever forget, every morning is a new beginning and a fresh new page in the diary of your life. Even through some of yesterday's story may have gone wrong, I hope that soon it will all go right. And I truly believe that. I believe in the human spirit. I believe in human creativeness. I believe in human intuition. I believe in human love, and I think that we can really pull together. The card that I pulled collectively for the group, for all of you today that are watching, and thank you so much for tuning in to Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, is this. It's a space. This is the card that I pulled. It's literally being in a space. It kind of reminds me of what's going on right now. We're all isolated, or whatever the stats are. Every 2 out of 5 people are in isolation right now, and it's going to increase. You may find yourself in the Midwest or the middle of the United States, but I can tell you guys, the virus will spread. It's going to continue to spread because it's a pandemic, and we don't have a way to shut it down. And you're going to see if you're in Idaho, if you're in the Midwest, the cases are going to increase. And with that, there's a delay of about 14 days, and so just be prepared. The storm is coming. But we'll ride through it, we'll do it together, and we'll come out on the other side. But it says, I allow myself to be creative. And that's the point that I was talking about. This is a great time to be creative, to really move into some collective energy, maybe write, maybe you're a songwriter, maybe you're a director, writing a new movie. This will influence, they say that life influences art, but I also feel that art from this will influence life. And, when we're alone in isolation, that season of isolation, the caterpillar, if you will, being alone allows our brains to recharge. I don't know about you guys, but I've been watching the planet. I've been watching the stats. I've been watching a lot of the government websites about the pollution going down. The canals in Venice are clear with dolphins swimming in. The planet is resetting. Mother's Day is not too far away, and I really believe that Mother's Day is going to be about Mother Earth, not about mothers around the planet, but Mother Earth, and a reset that's taking place. Outside my window, I usually would see constant planes coming into SeaTac. I don't see those anymore, and I feel, and this is what I talked about, sustainability, that the planet is protecting herself, because we've for so long, humans have been in such an ego space that we're now being forced to move into an eco space. And I believe that being alone can also allow us to recharge our brains. Being alone can increase productivity, whether you're writing, whether you want to, clean your house, whether you get organized. Being alone boosts creativity. That's the card that I just picked for the group, about being creative and allow yourself to be creative. And being alone can actually strengthen relationships with others, believe it or not, because it kind of gives you a time to rest, reflect, rejuvenate. And fasting from people is sometimes a good thing. Just like fasting from food is good, fasting from people and social things are good. But there's also some cons about being alone. So I want you to be mindful of being alone can make you vulnerable to your inner critic, that self-sabotager. So some good meditations. If you find yourself moving into a place of negativity or fear or doubt, try to find something that inspires you. A good book, Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, The Healing Cafe, Inspired Living Radio, where I'll be talking about this on Wednesday as well. But it can also be lonely. So like I said, we have the technology like we didn't have in 1918, the great influenza, Spanish flu, even though it originated out of the United States most likely. But Spain was the first to talk about it, so it's just interesting. So this virus will stick to China for many, many years to come, because that's where it was first reported. Even though it may not, they're showing studies now, it may have actually come out of Italy as far as back as November of 2019. But it can also lead to depression. So I just want to remember, for those of you that are struggling, maybe you've lost your job or you've been laid off, you have kids at home, there's the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. This one is a free, confidential, always available. You can help a loved one, a friend, or yourself. It's 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-273-8255. It's also suicidepreventionlifeline.org. I just always add that to my show, because if you are in a place where you're alone, it can lead to depression. It can be bad for your health. So try to establish some workouts. I've actually started to put myself into more of a boot camp, like when I went into the Coast Guard, just to kind of keep my mind active and to keep my body active, but also observe social distancing and the recommendations that have been applied for isolation and confinement or shelter in place. I do feel that there will be a national lockdown coming. Some of my friends disagree with that, but like I said, the studies have shown from history past, if you look at the flu of 1918, lockdown is what contained it. North Korea was exposed or notified the same day that we did, and they locked down their country right away. I'm seeing other countries, New Zealand, Australia, now taking suit. India is taking suit, locking everything down, because that is the best way they have found to flatten the curve and kill this virus. It will be with us forever, just like AIDS. It will be within our DNA, within our system. But we don't want people to die. We don't want that death rate. We want people that are exposed, and there's a lot of people, we don't even know the numbers yet, that are exposed, to be able to go into self-isolation for the 14-day period and come out of this healthy on the other side without that death rate spiking. Because when the numbers go up, the deaths go up. And so that's what they're really being proactive about. So do your research, do your history on the flu of 1918. I think there's a lot of similarities to it. Some people, would say that this is the end of the world. I do not believe it is the end of the world. I keep hearing the REM song keeps playing in mind. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. And I do. I feel fine. I had influenza A before this all started a couple weeks ago when we got done with the workshop. So I was a little in my mind thinking, gosh, did I get this? But if I got it, I'm just quarantined and following the rules and, social distancing, so we can all do this together. We have to come together, like I talked about in my episode back in January. We have to come together to beat this. And if people aren't listening and adhering to what your local governments, because this isn't a federal mandated thing, this is governors running each state independently, which is very dangerous in itself. But look at the things that they did wrong in 1918, and 100 years later in our roaring 20s, we're doing a lot of the same things, and it's sad because these are people's lives. So the numerology and crystal I want to give you for the week, and we'll get ready for the Healing Cafe. I pulled a master number card this morning. It's a number 33, so this is about global connection. Again, I pick all my cards at random, nothing planned, and look at that. The color of gold and yellow, communication. We're going to come together through communication. Again, be mindful of what you're watching, depending on what news media you watch. I get a lot of my news from Smart News. I do tune into the local and national just for a little bit, just to see what's going on. But again, this is a time for people to come together. Truth matters. Communications matter. Leadership matters, because this is people's lives on the line. And please, 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 don't be a Republican, don't be a Democrat. Just be a good person, be a good human, and pay it forward and have the golden rule and the golden circle, because we need to come together. And gold is very, very crown chakra, universal connection, the number 33, which is a master number, global communication. So that's your numerology card for the week. Today I want to give you the crystals for peace, because I can feel, I've talked with a lot of people. A lot of people are very, very anxious, very, very fearful, very worrying right now. Is aqua labradorite made quartz. So aqua, aura, and labradorite made quartz. It's sourced pretty much around the world. It's got blue and green color, so it's a quartz it's kind of like this, but it's got green and blues in it. So this is quartz here, but it's a aqua, aura, and laboratory made specialist quartz. So it's actually a peaceful stone. So I have this right now. Here's a bigger piece right here. Here you can kind of see the quartz. I have a lot of quartz around me today, and amethyst and rose quartz, and I've also got jasper and some jade, just because they're really great at increasing energy flow, which is part of the alchemy process if you follow the alchemy process. But it also, when you have the quartz in there, and whether it's that aqua, that aura, it actually frees you from limitation and creates space for something new. That's kind of really where I was going with this quartz, was allow you to create something new, to be creative during a time of isolation. Because remember, the caterpillar needs a season of isolation in order to become the butterfly, and I truly believe that's where we're going. I did offer a free meditation through Zoom. I will be doing more of that. If you are interested, please throw some likes or hearts up, or let me know in the Healing Cafe. I will be doing more online stuff, including demonstrations and mediumship. And if you are interested in joining my group online, spiritual development group, let me know so you can have a visitor's pass to see if you vibe with the tribe. Last but not least, I want to leave you with what I saw yesterday. I went out for a walk with my wife just to kind of get out. We observed social distancing, of course, here in Seattle. But we saw the eagle. And at first I was like, is that an eagle? And she's like, yeah, that is an eagle. At first I thought it might be a hawk. And what I want to represent, and it's just fitting because the eagle represents the crest of freedom for the United States. It's the crest of the United States of America. And when the eagle shows up, this is what it means, guys. There's an opportunity for you that you're considering, and it would be best if you take advantage of it soon. There will be a new beginning in a positive direction following a recent period of strife, one in which you've gained a great deal of stamina and resilience. Detach and rise above the mundane so that you'll be able to see your life and circumstances with a broader perspective and greater vision. And again, the words I keep coming back to, coming together, self-mastery, sustainability, these are all very important things. So if you see an eagle on your journey today, if you see an eagle, whether you saw it like I did out in nature, flying above the trees, you see it on TV, the eagle is a reminder to have that higher perspective and greater change for what we're all going through. It's not the end of the world. This too shall pass, but we have to do it together, and we have to do it with good communications, trust, effective leadership at all levels. Because like I said, if I'm hearing about this in December at my level and I'm a nobody, I know that many, many people were informed and did nothing about it. And this will reflect, history will show, just like it did in 1918, how the leadership of the time didn't act, and it created a pandemic. And that's where we're at now. So we're going to ride this storm out. We're going to stay upbeat. We're going to stay positive. We're going to, do it together. And I believe that this isolation period is the ability to transform into the butterfly. Solitude isn't the absence of noise. It's the absence of distraction. That came from a mind journal that I was reading. And let me say that again. Solitude isn't the absence of noise. It's the absence of distraction. And I think a lot of us have now moved into that place where we're taking the time to disconnect so that we can have the time to reconnect. So if you want to join me over in the Healing Cafe, I'll be up here in about 30 seconds. This goes over to my YouTube channel. If you would like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'm going to put the link in right now. And what I'm going to be doing is if you share out the page, you get on the page, you subscribe to the page, I pay attention to that, and at the end of this month, I'll pick one person for a free reading. And let me see if I can just switch here. Please bear with me. I'm going to put the link now into my YouTube channel because I'm going to be doing a lot more online stuff and a lot through my YouTube channel. So the link now is in the comment section if you'd like to get on my YouTube channel. Again, lots of shows. Why not? You got nothing else to do. So if you get tired of Prime or Netflix or nothing on cable, go to my YouTube channel and check out my 4+ seasons of Inspired Living Radio. Amazing topics, wonderful guests, inspiring information. You can check out Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, 2 seasons. I've got all sorts of shows that you can watch. Different metaphysical categories, spiritualism, psychic, mediumship, healing, intuition, awareness. So get on my YouTube channel because what else do you have to do, right? And check me out this Wednesday on Inspired Living Radio, where I'll be talking more about this, about the isolation and how we can really create amazing opportunities for this transformation that we find ourselves going in. But again, I don't see this as something bad. I actually see this as something transformative and amazing. Good things are going to come from this. I truly feel that, just like I saw this coming in January. And was hoping I was wrong, that it wouldn't become a pandemic, but it's now a pandemic, and now we have to batten down the hatches and fight it, because once it gets to that stage of pandemic, it's just going to spread, and we need to shelter in place so we can flatten the curve and make everybody healthy. So let me get ready for the Healing Cafe. Get your questions ready. I'll have details. Please check out the details of that. You can also find me at marclainhart.com, internet search Intuitive Prospector. You can find me through Alexa or Echo. Just ask to open up Pause Living, where you get quotes, spiritual quotes from me. But pretty much marclainhart.com is your one-stop shop to all the podcasts, articles, links, all the good stuff. If you want to book a reading with me, I will be lowering my prices here just to help, and I'll probably be doing donation type of online classes as well. So be safe out there, guys. Stay calm, stay informed, stay healthy, stay indoors, listen to local government, what they're telling you, because what they're telling you is the truth at the local level. I wouldn't recommend the federal level at this point. But stay inside, and we'll do this together, because this is a season of isolation, so the caterpillar can become the butterfly. I'll be back next Monday for another Metaphysical Mocha Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's been great connecting with you this morning over a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. I'm just sending lots of love and healing and peace and healthy vibrations and prayers to you, your family, your friends, your fur babies, and everybody impacted by this. So through this soul adventure that we find ourselves in, please be kind, please be caring, please be compassionate, keep a level head, stay calm. This too shall pass. We have brighter days ahead of all of us. Might not be the same as we see it today, but there are brighter days ahead, because we're all going to be butterflies with new perspectives and new ways of thinking and new ways of doing things. So take care, everybody. Most importantly, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. And I will see you next week. Take care, and namaste.